What's up, everybody? You know what it is.
Up?
It's another episode of
Fire 15.
I'm gonna let you do the singing. I'm Doc,
And I'm PJ.
and as always, we just got one request.
Just one.
If this makes you laugh, if it makes you smile, if it encourages you, if it challenges you, if you find it helpful or beneficial,
In any way, shape, or form.
just share it with somebody.
Yeah.
Share it with one person, because we want them to see it too.
And each one reach one, right?
That's right. Each one reach one. So
Yes.
what we're talking about today?
Today we are talking about intimacy.
Intimacy.
How to
Interesting.
cultivate
Yes.
healthy
Yes.
intimacy.
That's right. So what do you define intimacy as?
I define intimacy as the ability to connect with someone on a level that is unique to a particular relationship,
Okay.
that does not directly correlate with physical activity,
Okay.
and that shows a level of seenness that is special and unique.
Wow. That's a very intricate definition. Break it down for us a little bit, please.
Okay,
Because
so
you said a lot.
I
And it was
think-
good.
I think that we have to consider the fact that you can have intimacy in multiple types of relationships.
Right.
So we're talking like friendships, we're
Yes.
talking marriage,
Yes.
of course with Jesus.
Right.
So I think that it depends on what exact relationship we're referring to as to what the intimacy looks like. But I think no matter what relationship, true intimacy
Yeah.
is when a person can connect with you on a level that is unique to you. So we ain't out here being intimate with everybody on the same
Right,
level.
right,
Like that's not what we're doing.
Okay.
But then also I think that it comes with a level of commitment. So when you get intimate with somebody, like intimate, like we rocking like this, it's different. It hits different. It feels different. It's more meaningful. And so I think that it requires work.
Oh.
It requires sacrifice. And it requires vulnerability.
Not that word.
That's a cuss word for some people.
Not that word. Any word but that one.
And it requires accountability too.
Not that word either.
It does. And so
The V word and the A word?
the V and the A, honey.
We're gonna have to
Like
edit
if we
this
talking
podcast.
if we talking real core, like
Let's
you
not talk
me and
real.
you
Let's be-
rocking.
Let's be fake. Let's not
No,
be real.
let's not be
Let's
I
be
can't.
fake.
I can't. If we're talking hardcore, like real talk, intimacy, friendship, relationship, God, like we gotta go down through that thing. So let's talk about what you think intimacy is, and then we can talk about the different types.
Yeah. So I think intimacy is being able to be truly seen
Yeah.
by somebody else. You know, and I think that can come in a lot of different forms.
Correct.
And
Truly
friendship
seen.
wise. But to really be known by somebody else. And I think intimacy is one of the ways that, you know, I often say vulnerability is the glue that holds relationships together. But I think intimacy is the foundation that builds strong relationships.
Yeah, I agree. That's good.
And a lot of times, from what I've seen, just as a pastor, as a male pastor, with a lot of the male counterparts that I see, male mentees that I have, is that they struggle with intimacy when it comes to maybe their significant other, girlfriends and stuff like that. But they also struggle with intimacy overall.
So it's not just one particular area.
It's not just one particular area, because if you struggle with intimacy in one,
Oh, that's good.
9 times out of 10, you're going to struggle with intimacy in another area.
That's good. But I think, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No, go
you.
ahead.
Were you done with that thought? I think that the challenge is we have to learn what.
Ooh, wait, you're so fine.
I think the challenge is we have to learn what intimacy is. I think
Yeah.
people think it's jumping into bed.
And I think
They think it's in between the sheets.
Yeah, and I
Like-
think, you know, unfortunately, that is a very intimate act.
It is.
It is a very intimate act.
It's an act of
It
intimacy,
is
but
an
it's
act
not
of
intimacy.
But it is not
It's
intimacy.
not,
And I
no.
think a lot of times people try to substitute the act
Yes, for the real
for the
deal.
real thing.
Yeah.
And because it feels a way, that feeling is fleeting.
Yeah.
Most of the
Now,
time.
mind you, the way God created sex and the way it's supposed to work, it is
Within
supposed
a
to be
marriage,
within a marriage.
it
It
is-
is supposed to be a level of connection that happens between a man and a
One
woman.
of the highest forms of intimate connections that
Correct.
you have.
Correct.
Yes.
However, like that ain't it. And if that's all we doing, we ain't intimate for real.
Because I think where people get confused is that they confuse the act and they confuse the ability with the act as intimacy.
Yeah.
And so really what the act is, just it shows a form of ability because I'm doing it because I can.
Yeah.
But true intimacy is doing it in a way that connects us and bonds us.
Right.
That's why you can't do everything with everybody.
Correct. I mean, sexual intercourse.
Well, I mean,
but it's not just that.
Well, it's just the act of building intimacy. Like you can build intimacy with conversations.
You can.
And that's why you can't have conversations with everybody.
Facts. You can't talk about everything with everybody.
You sure can't.
Because that's how people talk about how affairs, they don't start in the bedroom with those kind of activities.
Sometimes they start
under
with
the
this.
sheets. They start like
with
this.
the text
Or
messages.
you have a person
with the computer messages and all that type of
Facts.
stuff. True.
Or you have a coworker that we just click, like we just mesh well, like our conversations are just organic and they just seem whatever.
Yeah. Now that's gonna be a topic for another. That's gonna be another podcast topic. But no, I agree with you because I think the activity and there are different forms of activity that can bring about intimacy.
I agree.
And so we have to be careful. But like I was saying, I think like you were mentioning. People have to understand the definition of intimacy.
Yes.
And I think at the core of it is intimacy is being seen in a light, like you mentioned, that's unique to you. Because everybody can see you, but everybody doesn't know you.
That's right.
Everybody doesn't know you.
That's
and
good.
we can't just be giving ourselves to everybody.
Don't be giving yourself away.
Yeah. Everything is a song.
Everything. Life is a song. Listen, even a minute ago when you said something, I was like, fight the urge. Do not sing this song.
Oh my gosh.
But that's really good. And so I think that the way that we take the steps to pursue healthy or, correct intimacy is, I think one thing we have to say that, I mentioned it in my definition, but we have to spend time, kind of park here for a second. And that is being willing to be vulnerable.
Yes.
You can't be intimate
That's
for
so
real.
Hard.
It is hard.
So hard.
It is because it's risky. And don't have been hurt before or don't have had, situations where even in a relationship, even in a friendship, you can have a friendship where you feel like your friend moved weird or something you shared with them, you heard it again. Or something you said that was important to you, they played it off or played it small. And you're like, bro, that's something that's super important to me. Then you be like, all right, and that's the last time. Like, people feel that way.
That's true.
But real intimacy, you have to be willing to open up your heart and put down the walls to be able to pursue a real level of intimacy in a friendship, relationship, mentorship, like marriage.
I think one of the ways that you can, even in being vulnerable, develop intimacy and create intimacy is through conflict.
Conflict intimacy
is one of the ways. A byproduct of conflict is intimacy, because here's what happened in conflict: you have a way of viewing something, I have a way of viewing something, and it's not going. We're not coming together,
right?
But here's what it is: when we have that conflict, we have an opportunity to deepen intimacy, or we have an opportunity to kill it. Because if we just say, you know what, yeah, you're right, I'm good, you always right, blah blah, you just killed an opportunity for intimacy. But when you have a disagreement, and then you start to peel back the layers. Why do I feel this way?
Yes.
That's how you can deepen intimacy. So I think
because you're learning more about who you are,
and why that triggers you so bad.
Yes.
Why does that make you have that adverse reaction?
Yes.
So it's a way to deepen intimacy, and that's why we tell couples oftentimes, hey, don't run from conflict in marriage. Don't run from conflict in relationship, because it's an opportunity to deepen that level of intimacy. So, again, now the way you handle conflict, you can handle it in a healthy way or unhealthy way. Right. But if you handle it in a healthy way, you can increase the concentration of intimacy in your life.
Yeah, and I think not even just the why that you learn in that conversation is I can learn the how behind your processes. So I don't know, I may learn at that moment in this intimate. We call them intense times of fellowship. But in this intense
some people call them arguments, y'all.
Right. But in this intense time of fellowship, and you're upset, we're disagreeing. If I stop and not just blow up or just, be selfish and be like, well, I disagree. I can learn more about who you are and things that I may not have. So maybe I learned in that moment that when you were 6, the way somebody spoke to you made you feel unseen or unloved or unconsidered. And I'm doing the same thing, not knowing it, because I wasn't there when you were 6, my boy. But it triggers you in the same way. So I learned more about who you are. in that moment, so I can love you and serve you better. But if I just pop off and be like, were you always so and so, or this and that and the third, I missed that chance to be a part of your world in a way that I couldn't be because I wasn't actually there. But I get to be more intimate with you because I learn more about who you are.
You know, and you said something that, you know, you weren't there when I was 6. You were in my heart.
Oh, God. I hope not.
Because when I was 6, I knew that I was going to marry you.
Of course you did.
I didn't meet you till I was 22.
What about all those other girls?
They would practice.
Practice?
They would practice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is the real.
This is the game.
This is it.
That was
this is
practice.
The championship.
This is the game.
Got it.
We're talking about practice. No, but this is the game. I knew I was going to marry you, girl.
Of course you did. I was in your dreams.
You were in my dreams every last one. I don't know why you're not tired right now. You've been walking around in my brain
How did I know you about to say that?
Long.
No, but that's those. I think those moments can, if we don't run from them, because let's talk about this for a second too. So we're talking intimacy, we're talking pursuing healthy intimacy, we're talking about how conflict deepens intimacy naturally. Even though I'm outgoing and you would consider yourself an introvert, I think I'm an ambivert. It's fine. I don't pursue conflict. Like I don't mind it. Like if I have to do it, I mean my armpit sweat and my hand, my palms, but I will to not. I'm not gonna be pushed over. You don't mind. You like, let's go. So I think
it's a flaw. I don't know if that's a good thing.
You like, let's go. Oh, we got conflict. Yes, I love it.
I do love conflict.
But I think in a relationship, people who are wired differently may be like, I don't want to argue, or I don't want to fight, or I don't want to disagree. So they just back away and be like, don't worry about it. Or they've been a part of families where people holler and cuss and like do things. And you're like, I'm not going to actively pursue an opportunity for this. So even in dealing with conflict, there is a healthy and unhealthy way.
There is an unhealthy.
Like not thinking like we got it together, but you slapped each other around in the process. Like that's not the answer.
So let me ask you this. So I would ask you, with the couple who are striving to develop intimacy, how would you advise them and say, hey, we're struggling with intimacy? What would you advise them as far as ways to develop intimacy in their life?
I think that I would I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think a lot happens with conversations. I'm going to ask some questions. That's good. I'm going to ask some questions. People who know me well be like, dang, you ask so many questions. But I tell them it's made me a lot of money. Thank you. But it's a part of who I am and how God has created me. But I think that being willing to ask questions, sit enough to watch and see how a person moves. Like kind of watch how they interact, watch the ebbs and flows of who they are. So as I'm deep in intimacy, I'm learning you. And I remember we read a book when we were engaged by, it's not even in print anymore.
It's called Master's Degree by Frank and Bunny Wilson. Fantastic book, by the way.
But it talks about getting a master's degree in one another. Yeah. And so I remember when we were first married, and even throughout the years, you would be able to, I'd be like, babe, you know what? And I wouldn't say anything else except for, babe, you know what? And you'd be able to be like, you'd be able to say what I was thinking and be like, that's creepy.
That's right.
That's creepy. I mean, on the flip side, you're prophetic, so that is a part of it
as well. It's a
but
cheat code.
I think that you watched me. You watched my patterns, the things that would come up in my mind or something we just saw. She's probably thinking about this. But that was the intention behind deepening intimacy. So I think if a couple is trying to find this level of intimacy, watch. Ask questions. Hey, I noticed you do this. Talk to me about why you do this. Ask questions about childhood. Ask questions about, and that may seem basic, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way.
And I hate to cut you off,
No,
but you mentioned about telling stories about childhood. I feel that being able to tell stories to each other, especially about the things you experienced, how you grew up, not just bad stuff, but the good stuff. Hey, what are your childhood memories? Hey, what do you remember about this? Or this? Tell me about this. It's a way that you just build that intimacy, because it's like sometimes we lock things in a vault.
Yes, we do.
Even happy stuff we lock in a vault because we want to hold on to them. And I think being able to share with each other is a way that you could just open that highway for intimacy. And I think we on our date nights we have this game called Let's Get Deep, and it's a card game. We just pull cards out there and just it
random questions.
Random questions. I'm talking about super random. Some of those questions you probably just need to skip because they kind of get wild.
Kind of wild.
But at the same time, it's the simple act of what you're talking about, just asking questions. Yeah. Hey, pull this card, this question about this. And hey, I didn't know that about you. And we've been married almost 12 years.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't know that about you. Yeah. Which is crazy. So
even remember side note, funny, remember you talking about how we talk about how fighting or whatever and how you fought all these people. Yeah. And I told you that I was a fighter. I mean, I'm a lover, not a fighter, but I've never gotten into an actual fight.
That scared me. It very scared me because I'm like...
It very scared you?
Yeah, it very scared me. Very, very scared me. Because I'm like, if I'm out here, if this woman is chasing me, What you gonna fight?
Listen, I'll fight if I have to.
The Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit is
my Lord.
fight. He goes before.
I'm gonna need you to have a stone in that satchel, my boy.
Listen, me and David rocked well as well.
You're gonna have to rock for real.
but learning different things about each other.
Yeah, but I think to answer my own question.
Yeah.
I think if a couple, really wants to strive for intimacy, you mentioned as well, paying attention, really getting to know one another outside of the surface level. But you mentioned that cuss word, vulnerability. Like I mentioned earlier, vulnerability is the glue that holds a relationship together.
Yeah.
And I think, intimacy is the foundation that a good relationship is built on.
Right.
And it's not just in the act. Because to be honest, we can do acts with anybody.
Correct. And
we're not supposed to. Whether it's conversation, sexual acts, all that type of stuff, that should be reserved for the one you want to be intimate with.
That's
and
right.
I think the truest form of intimacy happens with Jesus.
Yeah, it does.
Being able to worship the Lord in a
spirit,
in spirit and in truth,
yeah.
but also in a way where you're just completely open. Because I don't know why people are afraid to talk to Jesus like he doesn't already know.
Right?
They're afraid.
He knows.
They're afraid to be vulnerable with Jesus.
Like he may.
And like he doesn't know.
But I think and this is probably a topic for another
Come
day.
on with
but
it.
In order for us to really pursue, real intimacy with the Lord, I think that we have to view him in the right way.
That's true.
And so if I view him as, yes, he's a judge. Yeah. And yes, he's there are consequences to actions. But if we see him in heaven with a bat, and so if I mention anything that's contrary to his word, he ready to beat me over the head. I will pause to share those things of struggle. Like, here I am again, Lord, standing in need of prayer. And he's like, and it's okay.
Right.
I think but he's a loving father.
He is a loving
He
father.
Already knew. He came and pursued us before we chose him.
Right. And I think regardless of your earthly mother or father, God is not that.
Come on.
He's not that.
So you have to view him in a way that's not consistent with what they were or weren't,
or what you have experienced.
That's right.
That's true.
And don't do him like that.
Right.
Like, don't do him like that. And then it's the same thing in relationships. A lot of times we'll carry on that pattern from previous relationships of what my old boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever did, and so I bring in this baggage. I bring in this resistance. I bring up these walls, and I don't give the person who is with me, who has not done anything to me, an open opportunity to love me well because of the hurt they caused before. And so this person going on with their life, and the person I'm with that loves me and chooses me and has pursued after me is suffering the consequence of the past for the people who didn't gone on about their life.
And if you don't deal with that pain, if you don't deal with that hurt, you will make people pay for stuff that they ain't even met.
Yes. And it's just not right.
No, it's not right.
It's not right.
And I just think that that if we're going to develop true intimacy, it has to start with Jesus, has to start with the Lord.
For sure.
And then because you can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't.
And so,
or from a cup that's so busted that it can't keep nothing.
That's true.
Like you can't keep nothing in it because it's busted up.
Right. So you gotta make sure that you're pouring from a Stanley cup. And not a plastic regular cup, not a styrofoam cup.
Is this a promo for Stanley?
Stanley, if you want to sponsor me, if you want to sponsor us to continue to do the Lord's work, I'll put a cup right there in the middle of this table.
I can't. Hope this was good, guys.
Yes.
15 minutes has come and gone.
It always comes and goes so fast.
And I think that the biggest takeaway is just really leaning into what true intimacy looks like, asking questions, being intentional, being vulnerable, and doing the work. And there is such beauty on the other side of making the commitment to live life in an intimate way with the people who matter the most.
And here's the thing, you can't be intimate with everybody.
Yeah.
One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received is that your gift is for everybody, but your life isn't.
Yeah. Amen.
So go share your gift, people.
Go share it to the world.
Hey, we love you guys. I enjoy this time.
I did too.
I really enjoy this time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't rather spend 15 minutes with anybody else but you.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, I love your eyes. I would just look at you all day.
See y'all next time. Have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.